but I'm really excited to have our guest with us today, Mary Gleason, founder and CEO of Mary Gleason Consulting. She and I connected, gosh, it's probably been over a month now because time just zips on by. But we connected on something, of course, within the business world. And then I feel, Mary, no pressure, but I feel like we also just had a whole nother level of connection when it comes to, our personal space. So I'm really glad to have you here today and share with us on a topic that is so important, I think, for all of us to really dive deeper into, and that is removing barriers to your success. So that is what Mary has come on today to share with us on the Nonprofit Show. Of course, we cannot do this without our wonderful presenting sponsors. These companies exist for your purpose. They are here for your mission-driven goals, and they really are in your corner and your community across the globe. So reach out to them, find them online. They're not hard to find. Internet, World Wide Web, LinkedIn, very, very active nonprofit leaders. So thank you for showing up and supporting us in these conversations. And thank you to Julia Patrick, who shows up each and every morning as well. Julia is the CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy, and I get to play alongside Julia each and every morning. I'm Jarrett Ransom, also known as your nonprofit nerd or the nonprofit nerd, a CEO of my own consulting firm called The Raven Group. So thank you again for joining us today for the live episode. Again, either live, because these are every weekday live, as well as 350-ish archived recordings. So Mary, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hey, let me just tell you a little bit about me before we dive right in. And that is, I am an out and proud woo-woo executive.
Woo-woo!
And by that, I mean, for far too long, I hid my intuitive self behind what I thought everybody else wanted to see from me. And I was trying to be so logical and reasonable. And for over 30 years, I've worked in very high level nonprofit positions, and I've been a consultant with nonprofits. And over here on the side, I had my intuitive practice where I do hypnotherapy and I do intuitive readings for people, psychic readings, mediumship. And I one day decided to stop pretending I'm two people. And I put them together, and now I call myself an executive intuition coach. And really what I like to do is help people do just what we're talking about today, which is get unstuck, get out of their own way. So many things that I deal with my clients now are problems that came from bad decisions. So it's like, where did that come from? How did you get here? And how can we get you out of it?
This is great because I think so many of us, and for those of you that were able to join us on the Chitty Chat, we are a mixture of our home life, our work life, our community life, all of these different things. And it can be really a challenge in the best of times. And now we're definitely and have been in a challenging time across this country for many reasons. And so I can see where a lot of us could have roadblocks and be frustrated and just say, oh, it's just the times. Everybody's like this. And then we kind of don't make self-corrections. And so I'm really excited to hear what you have to say. You've got 5 basic strategies or tips for removing barriers to our success. Let's kick it off. Tip number 1.
Tip number 1 is ask yourself, is it really true? Whatever it is that you're responding to in your own head, and we all do this, we have these conversations with, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and we spin up, and we can't make a clear-headed decision. When I work with my clients, I find so many times they come back to something maybe their 3rd grade teacher said, or something that their grandmother said to them when they were 3. That has become a truth that they believe about themselves. And I'll never get this right. And this is never going to happen the way I need it to. And blah, 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 blah. People aren't going to like me, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, stop. Where did that voice really come from? Is it true? And one of the exercises that I have my clients do is just close your eyes for a minute. Figure out where that voice came from. Go see it as if it were a movie in your mind. And maybe you were 8 when that happened, but watch it as an adult and broaden your perspective and say what else was happening around you. And it's amazing how often you go, oh, that wasn't about me at all. Teacher was having a bad day, or mom was really sick, or, Anyway, so I tell people, ask yourself, is it really true? Maybe there's just this fear growing inside of you. And it's like, stop, breathe. Is it really true? How do we know that's true?
I have a feeling, Mary, you've probably read some Brene Brown as well. I know I have. I go to Brene Brown's readings and, podcasts often. And I found myself repeating something that she said, which I believe kind of complements this. Is it true? And her saying is, that's a great rough draft, like, that's a great rough draft. That's your first storyline. Yep. Now let's rewrite it. So that kind of relates to me of rough draft. Is it true? And I do have a very tragic story in the 3rd grade of a teacher telling me I will never go to college and I will never be able to do anything by myself. Yep. And I just want to make it public that I sent her my college graduation invitation. I was like, how dare her? But that really hit. And it wasn't true. It clearly wasn't true. But that really was a hook in my story of my rough draft that I really had to work through. So if that's tip number 1, we've got a lot to go. And I'm really excited to hear what they are.
I know. Well, I've got one quick question before we go to tip number 2. Does it always have to be negative? Can it be something that was super positive that yet it's not realistic? Or is this always a negative thing?
I think if you're stuck and you're stuck in fear, then somehow it's playing out negatively. And sometimes I love that question, because what comes to mind for me instantly is we are afraid of just how powerful we really are. And if we take that next step, it means we got to hit that next level, and we got to do it consistently. And so we shrink away, right? We shrink away. We let ego keep us safe. Ooh, we better stay here. We better stay here.
This is comfortable. Yeah.
Right. And that is like code for stuck.
Right.
Code for stuck.
Wow. Okay. This is cool. Well, I love tip number 1. Tip number 2.
Tip number 2. Do you make 1-door or 2-door decisions? I read this great interview not too long ago with Jeff Bezos, and they asked him what is his secret to keeping his company moving forward. And he said, there are 2 kinds of decision makers. And one is the person who sees it as 1 door. You go through, the door closes behind you, and that's it. So you better get it right. Yeah. And he said, I could never have grown my company on 1-door decision making. If you do 2-door decision making, then you say, I'll go through, I'll check it out. Oh, look, there's another door. I'll make the adjustments. Maybe I can go back. But, very few decisions we make are like, if I do this wrong, we're all going to die. And yet we carry that need to have it all figured out before we can move forward.
It is black or white, right? Like you said, the door is going to
all or nothing. And the whole world is on my shoulders, kind of thing. And it's like, really, dude? Because I doubt it.
2-door decisions. So Julia knows this, and maybe
we need to hear that.
Maybe many of you that are avid viewers, and we're so grateful that you're here. I am very visual, Mary, very visual. And so when I hear this 2-door decision, my eyes close and I'm seeing like this foyer, or I don't know if that's how you say it. HGTV says it always really beautifully, but so right, it's like you walk into that front door, then you have this beautiful space, and then there's another door. My childhood home actually has the same like setup. So I love this 2-door because I also firmly believe in course correction. And what I'm hearing you say with this 2-door approach is you walk through 1 door and then you assess, right? Now what?
Right.
Now what?
And then there's another door, or there's another window, or, hey, this was really great. I think I'll stay here a little bit longer, or this was good, but I need to fine tune over here, whatever it is. But if you always see that there's another door ahead of you, that's an option, it makes it easier to make the decision. But if you use one-door decision making, I got to get this right or the whole world is going to implode as I know it, then that is truly being stuck. You've made the decision to stay stuck.
I needed to hear that today.
That is so good.
That is super good. Okay,
and then two-door decision making.
Okay.
1 and 2 have been really ding dang good. Now tip 3.
Okay, tip 3. Here's another visual for you, Jarrett. Tip 3 is use your whole brain. Use the left and the right. And I spend a lot of time on this. I call it bring your whole brain to work. BYOB, bring the whole brain. So we tend to get stuck in all of what we know in the left side of our brain. And that's the numbers, the data, the logic, the reasons. We've got them there. On the right side is your intuition and creativity. When we allow just the facts to dictate, then we are making half-brain decisions, right? You might as well leave the other half of your brain in the car. When you take the time to give equal weight to both the facts and that other sense of knowing without overruling it, talking yourself out of it, then you make whole brain decisions. So again, you can just close your eyes and you could take that decision you're thinking of, give it a name, put it on the left side of your brain and say, what do I know about it? Okay, I know about how much it's going to cost. I know how long it's going to take. I know how many people I'm going to need to complete the project, whatever it is. Boom, boom, boom. Great. Now take that same problem over here and put it in your right brain and just be quiet. Just sit with it for a second. It's amazing what will come to you. You'll get a vision, you'll hear something, something will trigger for you. You'll feel an emotion you weren't expecting, right? That's data too. And sometimes that data is telling you, go for it. And sometimes it's telling you, I need to take a moment. I can't make this decision yet. I need to get more information. I need to let this ruminate for a while, because the number one way to stay stuck or go backwards is to make quick decisions poorly. Yeah. Because that stuff will boomerang on you quickly.
So my question to you is, we've become so data focused on making decisions. Mm-hmm. And I have found that with my team comes to me and says, well, the data shows. And I don't have that sense. I have a sense of, that might be what you're picking up on this sample set. Mm-hmm. And I think to your point, maybe it's my intuition or whatever that is leading me in a different direction. How do you communicate that, or how do you sell that back to your team? Because that's a hard thing.
Reed Hastings of Netflix is known as just this brilliant person. And he has the data. Jeff Bezos has the data, right? They have the data kind of thing. But Reed Hastings says, that just tells me what is in this moment. That doesn't tell me where I want it to take me. So in that way, your left brain is your COO, right? Your chief operating officer. They got all the methods in place. Your CEO is your right brain. And it says, great, now what do I want to do with it? And what you can say to your team very often is, here's how I'm feeling, or here's what I can't get past, or here's what I'm envisioning. Help me make this take me there. Right? The other thing I've done with teams is have them just close their eyes. And that leads me right into tip number 4, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, please do.
But I say, scan your body from head to toe. Put that named problem right here just over your head, and just feel that energy flow all the way from the crown of your head to the root, the base of your spine. Does it flow? Does it dissipate? Does it get stuck? Does it expand? That's data too. And they don't have to be able to have the words necessarily to expand it, but they can say, got to my stomach and made my stomach hurt. Or I really do have this little man sitting on my chest when I think about this. Or, I instantly got a headache. That's your intuition too. That's information for you too, right?
I have a question, and all of this resonates with me 100%, right?
Okay.
So let me give you that affirmation. Absolutely. I'm on board. How do you relate this information to someone who has that mentality of you leave everything that's not work at the front door, right? I'm not that kind of person, but I know that that culture still exists of no, you bring your work self, and I'm the culture that I am one self, right? I bring all selves with me when I come in this human body. So that, as well as how do we quantify this data, right? Like, how do we quantify this gut feeling or this man sitting on my chest, which, for those of you that might not know this feeling, for me, I would describe it as like my chest gets tight. There's a sensation. There's something there that just doesn't feel like a normal breath that's being able to, come in and out. That's how I would describe that man sitting on my chest. So how do you then talk about this? And I'm thinking in a professional setting, and I'm,
I gotcha.
How do you do this?
When I work with my clients, I get them really in touch with things. So I'm going to just mark, my book is on the table. Could you bring it to me, please? On the dining room table. Anyway, I want to book about this. Okay. I let go of my intuition until I had a nervous breakdown, until I had 5 stomach ulcers, until I had all these things. So this is my book, and I'll tell you about it in a sec. But the idea is that not listening to it has a cost, and that's very quantifiable. You can get all kinds of medical tests you never thought you'd need. You can buy all kinds of prescriptions. You can use all your benefits and then some. You can lose time at work. The cost to not bringing your whole brain into your work, into every area of your life, is very, very expensive.
Okay.
And you want to listen to it when it first starts. Don't wait till there's 5 stomach ulcers. I mean, my stomach was trying to get my attention, and I just kept saying, I'll take some Tums. Didn't work. Right. So I should have listened to the twinges. It shouldn't have to shout. And when you say quantify the level of anxiety, that is good information. But has it been trying to get your attention for a while and it just got to that height? Or did it just bam, land on your chest? Because that's information too.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Thank you.
So that's with us. And I get that. But how is it when we have, a boardroom, or we have with team members that might not really respect that or even be open to it? Do you have any thoughts on how we can bring them along?
So it's really funny. I worked with a couple of executive CEOs, and one of them was like, I can't just go in and tell my board, I don't trust this, without the numbers. And I said, you can't go in and tell your board anything less. That's your job. Your job is to bring them the data and say, for me, I just can't endorse this yet. I think we need more time. I think we need maybe some more experts on this, whatever it is, or I'm just really concerned it's going to cause a conflict down the road. My team's not ready and I need more time with that. So that's my recommendation, right? Mm-hmm. We all know you can't tell your board no. That's just silly. Their job is to tell us no. But you can't tell your board no, but you are obligated to tell them all your thoughts on something that's going to impact the organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense, but it is, it's not without its challenges.
No, it's not.
It's not without its challenges. And it's, there's so many leaders, and whether they're reporting to a board or just their team members, their staff,
mm-hmm. or themselves.
Or themselves. Yeah. They live in this fear of communicating something that doesn't have that hard number to back it up.
Yep. So nothing happens on one level. Mm-hmm. You get sick physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, right? Mm-hmm. You get better when you take all those things into account. You can't lead an organization and say, 80% of this is good and 20% not so good, and think it's not going to affect every area of the organization and come back to bite you, because it will.
Yeah.
It will.
I like that you said that. I think that's really incredibly wise. I think that's incredibly wise. Okay, well, tip 1, 2, 3, and 4 have been amazing. Tip number 5.
Stop waiting for other people to change.
Okay.
We have a tendency to think that everything would be right if everybody else would just do these things, or the situation would change, or whatever it is. And this, that belief that if you do the things that, we talked earlier about the age difference kinds of things, we can't do the same things we did in one generation with the next 2 and 3 generations. We have to change things. If we say, look, I know this worked because this is the way we've always done it and it always worked before, you're ignoring all the change, right? I mean, I stopped billing
my chest tight too.
I stopped saying that I consulted about major gifts, which I had done for many years, but it's a completely different environment now. I came up in the school of Penelope Burke with donor-centered fundraising, which was a huge change from banker strong arm fundraising, right? So this was really good. But now the next one is deconstructing philanthropy, and it's really getting into cultural shifts and engaging your donors in a different conversation. I'm not trained in that. I'm not prepared for that. It would be silly for me to go out and do that. So what did I change? Did I get out there and say, no, everybody has to go by the old rules? No, I said, I either have to get in there and learn new things, or I have to cede that role to somebody else who's already up to speed on that. I changed me, right? You work in an organization that does absolutely everything wrong, hoping that everybody else and everything else is going to change isn't realistic. You make the change. You either get in line with where it's going, give it a try, or switch environments for yourself. But boy, I so many clients say, yeah, the reason I can't move forward, the reason I'm stuck is because somebody else won't change.
Right. It's this, right?
Just stop. Yeah. Right. And the thing is that doing the same things and expecting different results, we know is crazy, right? But doing the same things and ignoring all the changes is even crazier. Right. So if you're not willing to change, then nothing's going to change. And that's a great way for you to blame everybody else. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you're the one who's stuck. Everybody else moved on.
Right.
So
this has been fascinating. And I'll witness to everybody. Jarrett and I actually, and Kevin Pace, our executive director, we have a team executive meeting in a couple of hours. So I'm going to be really interested to
I'm bringing my whole brain.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm so interested to see how some of what you've said bubbles to the top. Hold up your book again, because I'd love to share that with everyone.
And I will say, I do work with teams so they can all get in touch with the chakras and all that, but this is being woo-woo in an engineered world. Is that backwards to you?
No, pull it.
Okay.
Okay,
that's perfect. So
there
tell me, and actually I was sharing on the Chitty Chat, or maybe even before we went live on the Chitty Chat, that I was working with my coach yesterday, and ironically, Mary, she is an intuitive coach. And I was like, how does this work? And I thought, well, maybe this is really just about Jarrett, the person. But I wholly believe that Jarrett is like, this is my body. This is my vessel, right? And it's like, I take Jarrett everywhere Jarrett goes. And so really having that personal, professional side kind of talk together, and which is also why I don't believe and subscribe to a work-life balance. I talk often about a work-life blend, right? Like we need to blend that work-life balance. So talk to me a little bit about what you do as an executive intuitive coach, because I'm curious, because my coach is not specific with the nonprofit sector. So you have tons of background. Okay, you either, but you have tons of background in the nonprofit sector. So how does this work? I mean, just with our short amount of time that we have left, what is it like working with you as an intuitive executive coach?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of basic things that everybody does. And one of them is I have them give me their Myers-Briggs results with percentages. So I know where are their skills, where are their talents, and where are they spending their real time? We get into that balance, right? So we tend to spend 80% of time on 20% of the things we can't do well, right? So we make that shift. And then I also I spend a lot of time on the chakras so that they can use their body as a barometer and getting them really, really familiar. And then we walk through what's on their desk. You know,
Like
what is more important on your desk that you can't get out into the community? Or what's so important in the community you haven't got time to pay attention to what's on your desk, whatever it is. And we overcome that. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, you're good.
Right. So I work with first the leader, and then, if they're willing, the team.
The team.
Because I don't care if you have a team of all engineers, they're all intuitive too. Yeah. They all have that creative side. And I have also worked with those great visionaries, and their team is always running to catch up with the next great idea. And we talk about anchoring, appreciating that people are trying to follow you, and how do you tap into that left side of your brain. And things get very, very personal after that, when a full session, a full coaching package kind of thing, where we really get into, and where did some of this come from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fascinating. So, yeah, amazing. So Julia, pull up her contact if you would. So I want everyone to know how to reach Mary if you're interested. And of course, you know, also purchase the book that she has shared with us. I am so grateful again to have you here. Not only is this perfect timing for a conversation, you know, but as we were saying, there's so much going on in our world. We're all entering COVID rebound with this Delta variants really spiking. There's a lot going on with us personally, you know, outside of our control, within our families and other relationships. So perfect timing. I am so grateful to have you on here for the an episode of the Nonprofit Show. I hope maybe you're interested to come back on and share a few more nuggets, because I know I took a lot away. I always take notes, and I have a page filled of like scribbles. So I hope I can be intuitive on what the heck they say.
Well, you can call me and we'll interpret them together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
It's been really great. Again, I'm Julia Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy, joined today by my trusted nonprofit nerd herself, Jarrett Ransom, CEO of the Raven Group. We want to make sure that we really thank our sponsors who allow us to have this really interesting conversations. Tomorrow will be totally different. Yesterday was totally different. That's what you get with the Nonprofit Show. There's never the same message or guest. And so our sponsors appreciate that and allow us to move forward, and we thank them for that. Don't miss another episode of Fundraising Events TV. This is a new show of ours that just delves into the mysteries of fundraising through events. We like to say, from golf to galas, from ballrooms to barns, we got you covered. So check out fundraisingevents.tv. Wow, Jarrett, I think this is so interesting that we would have this guest today when we have an executive meeting later on.
You think that was planned? You think that's by mistake?
It's called divine timing.
Divine timing. My intuitive self, you know, aligned this perfectly. So I'm just so grateful. This speaks volumes to me and where I am. I've been doing a lot of work, you know, in my life, and as a person, and how I show up for myself and for others. So couldn't have been better. Mary Gleason, thank you so much. And to all of you that joined us live or watching this recording, so grateful to have you here. We end every episode with this mantra of please stay well so you can do well. We'll see you back here tomorrow.